All right. Hello, everyone. I'm going to give it a few minutes, a few seconds. Isn't that what the people say when they go live? Okay. Hello. I'm so happy to be live. This is my first YouTube live, and I'm figuring it out. I'm like, where do I look? Do I look here? Do I look there? I don't know where I look. I'm just going to look in this general direction. How about that? Oh, my goodness. So, I'm gonna go ahead and hop in. So I wanted to do this live, as I said in the video where I talked about doing a live. I wanted to do it because in the past, let's see, 3 months, a little over 3 months actually, I have been being more intentional about posting on YouTube. And I have been wanting to grow my audience, and that's exactly what has happened. And you guys have joined me as I've traipsed from the US to Ghana, traipsed around Ghana, and then traipsed from Ghana to Kenya, Nairobi, then Diani Beach. And so I recognize that a lot of people are new to me, and I wanted to have a moment to just talk about who I am and what I do and all of those things. I see that there are a few people here, so I'm going to try to be looking at the chat while I'm live so that if anyone has questions or anything like that, you can put them in the chat and I will answer them. But I did get a couple questions that I am going to answer. And then if you have questions for me as I'm speaking, go ahead and ask them and I will happily oblige. So first, I'm going to give a little introduction. So my name is Tryphena Wade, if you don't know me by now. And actually, I want to give you a chance to follow. If you're here and you have not followed my channel, I invite you to do so.
Let me show you how to create the perfect...
And I'm going to give you a second to do that while I take some water. One more second. Okay. So yeah, my name is Tryphena Wade. I am an actor. I'm a professional actor. I have been a professional actor for over 20 years now. I'm also a certified master life coach, and I'm a globetrotter. And I think I say that in every video or almost every video. But most of you know me as a globetrotter because I've been talking about my travels on the channel. But many of you have asked, are you actually an actor? And I'm like, yeah, actually I am. So just to give you a little bit of background on that, I'm from Columbus, Ohio in the US, born and raised there, born and raised in the US. And I went to Howard University in Washington, D.C. And if you know anybody who went to Howard or goes to Howard, we say, HU? And then the response is, you know, okay? HU? You know, right? So, so I went to Howard University. At Howard University, I studied theater. I had a concentration in musical theater, which means that I also sing. And musical theater requires you to sing, act, and dance. And the idea is that you are going to be, or you're supposed to strive to be a triple threat, singing, acting, and dancing. So I went to Howard University, studied musical theater at Howard University, and graduated, did 4 years, graduated with honors. And I started my career as an actor in Washington, D.C., and I actually booked my first professional job before I finished college. So I stayed in D.C. for a few years after I graduated, about 4 years. But all the while I was traveling between D.C. and New York to audition. Because my dream, my desire was all, somebody says, I'm trying to remember how we connected. I don't know, ghetto intellectual, I don't know. If you find out, if you figure it out, let me know. Where was I? Yeah, so my dream was always to be on Broadway. When I was a kid, I used to watch PBS. And for those of you who may not know, PBS is like public television. And they had this show called Classic Arts Showcase, and they would show opera singers and they would show clips from ballets and musical theater singers, but I was always most enamored with the opera singers, specifically Jesse Norman and Leontine Price. They were my favorite. I just thought their voices were so beautiful and luminous. And I was like, I want to sing like that. So that's what I studied in school. And it was always my desire to do theater. When I was a kid, my parents used to take us to a lot of shows, touring shows that would come through our city. And I was just always so enthralled by what I was seeing on the stage. And when I was in high school, I was in the marching band. Shirley Barrett is your cousin. What? Okay, hold on now. Hold on now. I'm gonna save that for later. That's amazing. That means you can sing. Does that mean you can sing? Did you get the gene? um, so yeah, it was always my dream to be on Broadway. When I was in college, uh, on spring break, I went up to New York a couple of times, I think, and with some friends, and we saw The Lion King. We saw Aida on Broadway. Actually, let me rewind, because my first time traveling to New York City, I was in high school. I was in the 9th grade, and I was in the marching band. And we were invited to march in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which, if you're not from the U.S. and you don't know, we have a holiday every year called Thanksgiving. You say, can't hold a note. Oh, that's too bad. We have a holiday called Thanksgiving in November. And the Thanksgiving holiday, there's always parades. There's always a Thanksgiving Day parade in like every major city in the United States during Thanksgiving. But the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City is like the major Thanksgiving Day parade. And I grew up watching it because, you would see the marching bands and you would see the people marching, but you would also see, they would have clips or snippets from Broadway shows, and the performers would actually be outside performing. And if you don't know, Thanksgiving in the US is in November. It's cold in New York. Cold, okay? And they were out here performing, and I just loved watching the performances live on the Thanksgiving Day Parade. So going to New York was like a dream of mine. We went to New York, this is in high school, 9th grade. Excuse me. We went to march in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And while in New York, we saw 2 shows. We saw the Christmas Spectacular at Radio City Music Hall, which is the spectacular Christmas show with the Radio City Rockettes, and they have animals on stage. They have camels and donkeys on stage, and they're telling the story of the nativity and all of this. And we also saw a show called Les Miserables, and I fell in love with that show and with what I was seeing. And at the time, I didn't know what to call it. And I remember we were sitting in the Imperial Theater. Our seats were all the way up at the top. But I was like, whatever they're doing, I want to do that. Excuse me. I'm going to take some water. I'm fighting a little cough. Okay. That's why I have my water, because I'm talking a lot. So, we saw Les Mis, and I fell in love with whatever they were doing. And I was like, I want to do that. So that was my first time going to New York, first time seeing a Broadway show. And from then on, I remember praying in the hotel room, looking out over the city lights. And I was like, please, God, let me live here one day. I have to live here one day. I remember that was my prayer. Fast forward to being in college and being in DC. And DC and New York are very close. You can take a train between the 2 cities. And we went to New York a couple times during spring break, and we saw Broadway shows. And I saw The Lion King, and I was like, this is the show I want to do. First of all, I feel it. It's making me feel something. Second of all, there's a lot of Black people in this show. And that's not something you see. That's not something you saw a lot then. And even now, unfortunately, you still see a lot of Broadway shows that are very, very Caucasian. Oh, you've seen me, Queen Sarabi. Well, hello. Thank you. Welcome to my live. If you're not following, make sure you follow. So you gave up my secret, but I'm gonna still tell it. Okay, so I saw The Lion King, fell in love with the show. I feel another cough coming. Y'all bear with me, please. Ah, that's why I have this water. All right, no more coughing, please. Okay, so I fell in love with The Lion King. Um, and that was the show that I wanted to do on Broadway. It's like, I want to be on Broadway. I want to do The Lion King on Broadway. So fast forward, graduated from Howard, stayed in DC for about 4 years after I graduated. And then I had been auditioning so much in New York and traveling back and forth between New York and DC. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, this is crazy. I have to move. I have to move. So eventually I moved. Please bear with me. Eventually I moved to New York and I did a lot of regional theater. I auditioned for a lot of theater that was outside of New York, but the theater companies would come to New York to see the show or to audition people for their shows. And so I auditioned a lot and I did a lot of regional theater. I also did a cruise ship. I worked on a cruise ship for about 9 months. So I was in the Mediterranean for about 9 months, singing on the cruise ship, singing and doing shows on the cruise ship. And I already had the travel bug. I already knew that I wanted to travel and I loved to travel. Um, and I had already, up until that point, when I was in college, when I was a sophomore in college, I studied abroad at the University of Ghana. We don't talk about that too. Um, but so I always knew that I wanted to travel, and being on a cruise ship and working and singing, and I'm doing what I love. I'm traveling, two things that I love, and I'm making money. I was like, this is the life. This is it. This is what I want to do. But got off the cruise ship after about 9 months, and then I came back to the US. Actually, let me rewind a little bit. I got off the cruise ship and I had the opportunity to audition for The Lion King in Hamburg, Germany. Do I speak German? No. But I said, this is my chance. I'm going to audition. And so they sent me music and I learned the music. And after I got off the cruise ship, we got off the ship in Spain, in Barcelona, Spain. And then I flew to Hamburg and I auditioned for The Lion King in German. And didn't get it, which was fine because I was like, I don't know if I really am ready to move to Germany. It was cold and overcast, and if you've been watching my channel for even a couple of videos, you know that I like warm temperatures, which is why I'm on the beach. So I knew that I wasn't ready to move to Germany, but I was like, that was my chance to like have my first major audition for The Lion King. So I came back to the US. And I was in New York for a little less than a year. And then I booked the Lion King national tour. And I was on the national tour for 6 years. Actually, not the national tour, the North American tour, because the tour goes all over the US, but it also goes to Canada. And there have been times when the tour has gone to Mexico as well. So, yeah, I was on tour for 6 years. We were in a different city every 4 to 8 weeks. Some cities we would be for a month. Some cities we would be for 2 months. And it was always the big major cities that we would stay in for 2 months. So like we were 2 months in Chicago, 2 months in LA, 2 months in Washington, D.C. We also went to Honolulu, Hawaii. We were in Hawaii for 2 months. That was the dream. And then, you know, the other cities, we would be there for 1 month. So I did that for 6 years. 6 years, a different city every 4 to 8 weeks. You know, hotel rooms, Airbnbs, private housing, or if you went to a city where your family was, you would stay with your family. You know, like that was what I was doing. Suitcases, that's where I learned how to pack well. I did that for 6 years. And after 6 years, I was like, okay, there are things that I want to happen in my life. And they can't happen if I'm on the road like this constantly. So I decided to leave the tour. But another dream happened. Lion King was my dream show. So being on tour was a dream. But then another dream happened. When I left the tour, I immediately got invited to come join the Broadway production of The Lion King. So I left the tour after 6 years, went back to New York, got my apartment and then joined the Broadway company. And my Broadway contract wasn't consistent. It wasn't a permanent contract. The first time I went to Broadway was I was covering for someone who was going to be out for a while. But that continued to happen over the next 4 years. Someone's watching from Malawi. Welcome, Malawi. I want to go to Malawi one day. I'm close. I'm in Kenya, so I'm close. Okay. Also, if you're just joining, I'm Tryphena Wade. Hello. This is my channel. Welcome. This is my first YouTube live. Hello. And I invite you to join the conversation. I invite you to subscribe. Okay? We love that. This cough. One more water. Okay. So, went to New York, was on Broadway for 4 years, and that was right before the pandemic. And after being back in New York for 4 years, I was just like, man, this is not, I don't want to be here anymore. I came to a point in my life where I was like, okay, I'm on Broadway. You know, if you're on Broadway, you're making good money. Ooh, honey, yes, I have some honey. I will definitely do that. I'm on Broadway, making good money, you know, got my cute apartment, I love it. If nothing changes in my life in the next 5 years, would I be happy being here? And the answer was no. And I was like, oh, well, then I gotta go. There's more for me, and it's not here. I was also getting tired. I'm from Ohio. It gets very cold in the wintertime. Midwest winters are very cold. New York is on the East Coast, very cold and gray and dreary. And I was getting to the point in my life, in my career, where I was like, I don't want my life to be all about my career. I need to know that I'm living in a city, or that my life happening outside of my career, I'm enjoying it regardless of what's happening. Because if you know anything about the entertainment industry, if you know an actor, if you are an actor, you know that there are a lot of ups and downs in this industry. The only guaranteed thing in the industry is unemployment. That is the only thing that is guaranteed, is that you will go a period of time where you are unemployed throughout your career. You know, you don't necessarily do jobs back to back to back. That's not how that always pans out. It does for some people if they want it to, and for other people it doesn't. And it also depends on what you choose for yourself and for your life. And so I knew that for me, I needed to set up my life in such a way that even if I was not doing a gig, I was still going to be happy and satisfied in my life. And that included where I live. And New York was not doing that for me. I wanted to be somewhere warmer. I wanted to be in a sunnier place. And so I chose to go to LA. This was right before the pandemic. And so my plan was I was going to take a leave of absence from the Lion King and take a few months, go to LA, check it out, you know, meet some people, do whatever, and come back to New York, finish out my contract with Lion King, and then move to LA. Well, I went to LA for my leave of absence in February of 2020, and 1 month later, the pandemic shut everything down. And Broadway was then shut down for, I think, like 2 years, close to 2 years. 2 years, I don't remember exactly how much. But I was like, oh, so the job that I was supposed to go back to is no longer. Everybody's at home. What am I going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to stick with the plan. I'm still going to move to LA. And that's what I did. So I moved to LA September of 2020. And I was there for 4 years. And then and doing jobs, you know, like I had started transitioning to doing more TV and film work, and that was kind of exciting to me, and I was enjoying it and was learning a lot. And who is yelling? I don't know what's going on. Is the World Cup happening today? I don't know. Anyway. So, yeah, 2024. Actually, let me rewind. Some of you may be familiar with the show that I'm on called The Promised Land. So we shot the pilot episode of that show in 2022. Oh, you're from Inglewood. Oh, maybe our paths crossed at some point in California. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. Um, where was I? Lost my train of thought. Um, oh yes, The Promised Land. So in 2022, we shot the pilot episode of The Promised Land. That pilot episode came out 2 years later in 2024. And then in 2024, we shot season 1 of The Promised Land in in Utah. In Utah. We shot the pilot in Carlsbad, New Mexico. We shot season 1 in Utah. And if you haven't watched The Promised Land yet, you should check it out. It's on YouTube. It's called The Promised Land series. I play Zipporah, Moses' wife. It's a show that I love so much. So yeah, we shot season 1, 2024. And while I was in Utah shooting season 1 of The Promised Land, I was cast unexpectedly, kind of, in the Broadway revival of Gypsy, which was last year, 2025. So I immediately went from Utah. I went back to LA for one day just to kind of rearrange my things, my life a little bit, and then moved to New York just with like a couple days notice, moved to New York. And that was that was November 2024. And so that went into 2025. That show ran up until August of last year. We closed in August of last year. And then a couple months later, I went to Morocco to shoot season 2 of The Promised Land, which will be coming out later this year. So that is my career as an actor in a nutshell. The major things, of course, being The Lion King, because that was literally 10 years of my life, 10 years of my career, which is almost half of my career, was doing The Lion King, the North American tour, and the Broadway production. And I did a lot of regional theater around the US, a lot of shows. And then when I moved to LA, I did a lot of movies. If you're familiar with the Lifetime Network, I've done a lot of Lifetime movies. Several commercials, national commercials. I did a commercial for Welch's. I did a commercial for Valspar. I did a commercial for Spectrum with Kev on Stage. And yeah, and then like another big part of my career has been The Promised Land. So yes, when people say, "Are you really an actor? Are you really an actress?" I'm like, yes, I really am a professional actor, and I have been for over 20 years at this point. And if you go to my channel, my YouTube channel, there is a playlist that's labeled Performance that is open and available to everyone. Hearing about lots of anti-blackness in Morocco. You know, I heard about that as well. And before I went, I had been to Morocco before, because when I worked on the cruise ship, we went to Morocco. We went to Agadir, we went to Casablanca, and had a great time there. But before I went to Morocco, this last time, my voice coach was actually like, "Yeah, just be aware, be wise, be careful." Yeah. And so thankfully, I had a great experience. I didn't experience anything that I would consider anti-Black, although I did experience some things that felt I don't want to say anti-Black, but I did experience some things that felt like I was being targeted because there was an assumption of something. I'll make it plain. In some places that I've traveled to, when people see me, and I'm talking specifically about European countries, when people see me or see Black women in general, sometimes there's an assumption that Black women are prostitutes. And I know that in Europe and North Africa, there is a lot of sex trafficking that happens and things of that nature. And so because of that, and because they're close in proximity to the continent of Africa, so you get a lot of African migrants who are coming from different countries. And so all of those things coupled together, I know that a lot of people have had bad experiences with the assumption that they are sex workers. Oh, you saw me in a movie. Which movie did you see me in? Put it in the chat. I want to know. Um, Someone, if you can't see the comments, someone commented that when they first came on my channel, they thought that they had seen me before and they realized it was in a movie. So, what movie have you seen me in? Put it in the chat. Um, but yeah, I thankfully I'd never experienced anything that felt like aggressive toward me. But I do know that that is a thing that happens in North Africa, sex trafficking. Even right before I went to Morocco, there was a story, and I don't remember all of the details, but there was a story about two women, Black American women, who had gone traveling. I want to say they were in Tunisia. I think they were in Tunisia. I hope I'm not saying that incorrectly. But there was like an attempted kidnapping of one of them, and thankfully they were able to get away. She was able to get away. But there was a people were like, be wise, be careful if you're in that area of the world, just be mindful, please be careful. And so that is something that I was aware of when I was in Morocco, but thankfully, nothing like that happened to me. um, Now some things that did happen, and this is an interesting thing about travel, is especially as a female Black solo traveler, I have experienced some questionable things. I have experienced being followed randomly, and this did happen to me while I was in Morocco, walking down the street between the hotel, and there was like a strip of restaurants really close to the hotel that we would go to often to eat. And so I was walking down the street from the hotel to that strip of restaurants, and somebody saw me in their car and did a U-turn and slowly followed behind me in their car. I don't know why I'm doing this. Slowly followed behind me in their car. And like kind of not behind me, but kind of like on the road, kind of next to me. And I looked, and I don't know what the guy said, but I was like, no, no. And he kept following me slowly, and I had to get a little loud because he was not leaving me alone. And finally I was like, no, go away. And so unfortunately, that is something that I've experienced, a lot of other Black female travelers have experienced. And it's sad because sometimes we get the reputation of being loud or being aggressive. And I'm thinking, if it's a situation like that, I'm going to be loud and I'm going to be aggressive because you're bothering me. You're following me in your car. There's absolutely no reason for you to do that. You're in the street, I'm on the sidewalk, I'm walking, minding my own business, and you're just driving slowly next to me. Leave me alone. And if I have to be loud and a little bit aggressive for the sake of my safety, I'm going to be loud and aggressive. And you can deal with however you feel about that. And that's that on that. So, that is something that I have experienced. I've experienced that in Morocco. I've experienced that. I've experienced being stared at in a lot of places. Random people taking pictures of me. It's insane. I'm gonna take some water. So yeah, that is one thing that I have experienced, unfortunately. That's an unfortunate reality of solo travel. So, one more second. Thank y'all for bearing with me with this cough. You had to bring out your hoodness in Bamako some years back. I've never been there, but that's crazy. It's unfortunate that you have to be aggressive in order to get basic respect. You know what I mean? Like, I would never drive in my car and slowly drive next to somebody on the street, some stranger that I didn't know. That's just ridiculous. So that's an unfortunate thing that I've experienced. I've also experienced, random people taking pictures of me. That happened to me in France once. And here's the thing about that. It's happened to me in France, happened to me in Peru, happened in Greece. And here's the thing about that. I think, unfortunately, that happens to a lot of Black Americans, African Americans, And I think the assumption sometimes is that we immediately go to racism. Oh, they're racist, they're racist, they're racist. And I don't necessarily think that's it. My experience traveling has shown me that most places in the world are fairly homogenous, meaning almost everyone or everyone is from a similar ethnic background. And I'm in Africa, I've been in Ghana, I'm now in Kenya. There are multiple ethnic backgrounds, but everybody is from one of those ethnic backgrounds. There are shared languages, there's shared culture, there's shared understanding. There's also shared skin color. Skin color is one of the first things that people notice about you. So I personally think that there are a lot of people in the world who literally have never seen a black person in person. They've seen folks on TV, they've seen Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama, Beyonce on TV. But I think a lot of folks in the world who live in homogenous cultures have never seen a black person in front of their face. And so because of that, there is an awe, there is a curiosity, and a lot of times there is a respect. There is a respect. And then when they find out you're Black American, then people are like, oh, a real Black American, which is funny to me. But I'm like, yeah, we out here. We're real. But I think that because a lot of people have a lot of the world, many parts of the world are homogenous, and people maybe if they've never traveled outside of their village, their country, whatever, there's a curiosity that comes when they see us. And so I think we have to learn to tell the difference between curiosity and disrespect, because they're not always the same thing. They're not the same thing, So I'm thankful that in most of my experiences, someone says true, that was my experience in Shandong, China. More fascination, curiosity than racism. Exactly. Fascination and curiosity, not necessarily racism. They're not coming at you with hate. They're coming at you with, oh my gosh, you're real, And there's a respect to that. Pause. So that has been my experience throughout many parts of the world, where I see that people are taking pictures of me or people want to take pictures with me. Y'all forgive me. I did not know that this cough was going to rev up during this live. This is crazy. Probably because I'm talking so much and I'm sitting outside and I'm gulping in air. One interesting story that I will tell is that I was in the south of France. I was in Provence. And I took this trip to Provence for the sole purpose of seeing as many lavender fields as I possibly could. That was what I wanted to see. I wanted to see lavender fields. I wanted to see it growing out of the ground in front of my face. And so I took this excursion. Pardon me. I took this excursion and we stopped at a field of lavender. And I was standing in the middle of the field and it was just glorious. And I was just taking it in. And I stood there and I just put my arms up in the sky, and I was just standing there with my arms up in the sky. And I put my arms down and I turn around and I see this little Asian lady just snapping away, taking pictures of me with my arms up in the middle of the lavender field. She just snapping away. And when I turned around and saw her, she stopped and she says, beautiful, beautiful. And I was like, yes, it's so beautiful. And she was like, no, you, beautiful, beautiful. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. So at that point, I'm like, listen, if you're going to take pictures of me, use my camera. Thank you so much. So I gave her my camera and she used my camera to take pictures of me. And I have pictures of myself in that lavender field, in the middle of the field with my arms up And it's because of that little Asian lady who was like, beautiful, beautiful. And so for the most part, that's been my experience, you know, with people taking pictures of me. And it happens, it has happened multiple times, and I've learned to be okay with it, to expect it. And yeah, curiosity, not racism. How y'all doing? If you're just joining, I'm Tryphena Wade. Welcome to my channel. This is my first live. I have a little cough, so pardon me. I'm gonna have some water. But while I take some water, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so there were a few questions that were left on my post about this live. Let me see if I can find them and answer them. I may have answered them already just in my talking. Let me see. Oh, someone asked, what is my educational background? So I think I gave that information. I went to Howard University. I studied theater with a concentration in musical theater. And yeah, that's my education. I've also, while I was, actually, this happened while I was in The Lion King. I took a short leave of absence from The Lion King to do a vocal music, what do you call it? A vocal music intensive, I guess you would call it, in Maiori, Italy. It was amazing. It was amazing. I had an opportunity to focus in on classical voice when I was doing that. And so that was wonderful. But yeah, most of my education was Howard University. And then since then, I mean, I work with a vocal coach now, a voice teacher / coach. And, you know, as an actor, you're constantly taking a class or doing an intensive or something, just kind of keep yourself sharp. So that all goes along with my education. So that's that question. There was another question I saw. Gotta find it because it was a long one. Somebody asked, I can't find it, but it was a question that had to do with the 4th of July. And I can't find it now. But I don't celebrate the 4th of July. I don't celebrate the 4th of July. Oh, someone's asking, I was much interested in your education and your journey so far up to this date. It's been a long journey indeed. Stay blessed. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming. Thank you for enduring my cough, which I didn't know was coming. I appreciate that. I can't find that question. I hope the person did not delete it because I really wanted to answer it, but I don't see it now. And it was a long question. So if that person is here in the chat, feel free to add that question. Let me look at the chat here and see what I can see. Oh, someone said, so you're in Nairobi. No, the ghetto intellectual. I am not in Nairobi right now. Right now I'm on Diani Beach. I was in Nairobi for 3 weeks. And it was a little cooler there than I wanted it to be. And I just really wanted to come see the water. So I decided to cut my time in Nairobi a little short and come to Diani Beach. Been here for the past few days and I'm loving it. It's been wonderful to be here. The sun, the water, the sand, I love it all. So, yes, not in Nairobi, on Diani Beach. HU, you know, hey, did you go to Howard? Ghetto intellectual? Did you go to Howard? Let me find out. Okay. I don't see any other questions, and I can't find that question. I love that there's someone here who has seen me in The Lion King. That's pretty amazing. Also, the ghetto intellectual, your cousin is Shirley Barrett. That's amazing. It's too bad you can't sing. That's too bad. But I love that she's your cousin. See, she's an inspiration to me. Her voice is amazing. It's, as I'm sure you know, if she's your cousin. Yeah. All right, so I can't find the question that was asked, but I know it had something to do with the 4th of July. And I do want to address it. I remember part of it. Talked about Independence Day in the US. So here's the thing when it comes to me. I'm speaking for myself. I do not celebrate the 4th of July. When I was a kid, the 4th of July was a huge holiday, and there were always fireworks displays all over the country for Independence Day, Happy 4th, 4th of July. And I loved it. I loved going to the fireworks. We would go downtown as a family, and it would always be crowded, and you had to find a good spot, and you brought all your snacks, and we were allowed to eat all the junk food we wanted and all the things and enjoy the fireworks. And it was cool. And as I got older and I started to kind of gain more of an understanding or knowledge of the United States and pay attention and read some things and travel, I really started to realize, wow. First of all, you learn in history, you learn that everybody in the United States, when the 4th of July became our Independence Day, July 4th, 1776, the United States was still holding enslaved people. Slavery did not end until 1865. So almost 100 years of independence, but Black folks, African descendant folks were still enslaved on U.S. property. But July 4th, 1776, they celebrated their independence from Britain. And I was like, well, that ain't right. How are you celebrating independence and you still have a whole group of people who are not free on your soil? That's not okay. So that was a problem for me. And it became more and more of a problem for me because then you really start to see how the U.S. handles immigrants, travelers, expats, whatever you want to call them. You start to see that there is a disconnect in our claim of freedom versus how we handle people who are not from the U.S. The U.S. is supposed to be this melting pot, you know. You have the Statue of Liberty, and on the Statue of Liberty, there's this plaque that says, "Give me your poor, your huddled, your poor, your huddled, your," I can't remember all of it. Your masses yearning to break free, right? And it's supposed to be a place where everybody can come to enjoy freedom. And that has not been the case for a lot of people. You know, if you look at what is happening in the US now, and even in the past several years, the way we handle immigrants, and regardless of what you believe about how someone came to the country and whether they followed all the legal protocols and all of those things, we are very choosy about who we're kind and welcoming to and who we're not kind and welcoming to. And one thing that I've experienced as a traveler is that as an American, my passport is one of the strongest in the world. And my passport allows me to go to so many countries visa-free, or to go and get a visa on arrival, or to get a visa a couple of days before I arrive there, and it's not super expensive. But some of those same people from those countries have such a difficult time coming to the US. I'm like, how is it that these countries are making it easy for me to come into them, but people from those countries have a hard time going to the US? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So I didn't, you start to see that and you're like, there's inequality here. And if you just look at the history of the country, so much inequality. And people will say, but we're doing better with it. And I'm like, no, but it's not fast enough. 250 years. Many of those years, people were enslaved. After enslavement, you had Jim Crow, you had segregation, you had all of these things. You had laws put in place to keep people from being able to have access to the same housing, to the same jobs, to the same education, to the same healthcare. And those policies of inequality, a lot of them are still in place. A lot of people are still experiencing inequality on American soil. And so the fact that we claim to be this free nation and we claim to be this welcoming nation, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't stick. Yeah, the noise is football fans. Argentina's second goal. Oh my gosh. Who's Argentina playing tonight? Somebody put it in the chat. So yeah, it's like it's like, and it's hard too because I do recognize that a lot of people come to the United States for the opportunity to rise out of whatever social class that they're in their country. I was talking to a guy once and I was like, I don't understand why. Yeah, the noise is from soccer fans. Yeah. I was talking to someone once and the guy, I think he was from Congo, and I was like, please tell me why so many people want to come here. You see racism, you recognize that racism is a thing. Oh, Egypt versus Argentina. Wow. Who y'all voting for? Who y'all rooting for? You come to the US, you see that racism is a thing. You see it. You sometimes even experience it. And yet, and still people come in droves. And he said to me, he said, when you are born in another country, in a country that is so dictated by class, and you know that the class that you're born into is where you will stay your whole life. There's no opportunity for you to rise above it, or at least there's not as much opportunity to. None of them, both are racists. Well, there's very little opportunity for you to rise out of your social class. He said, at least in the US, even if people are racist, even if people don't like you, you can come with nothing, you can start with nothing, and you can still become a millionaire or a billionaire. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. All you got to do is have your grit and your work ethic and your ability to keep trying. And that is true. You can start from nothing and you could become a millionaire or a billionaire. And he was like, that's why people come, because there's opportunity to do that. Whereas where I'm born, where I'm from, if I'm born poor, I'm going to be poor my whole life. That's just what it is. If I'm born rich, I'm set for my whole life. That's just what it is. And so I recognize that the United States does offer that opportunity for somebody who has great ideas, who has a strong work ethic, who's just willing to keep going for it until they find the thing that works for them. The United States is a place you can come to do that. But man, oh man, oh man, it's hard because there's still so many people who experience, people who are from the US who experience such horrible racism in the country that they're from. And it's just like, this is not healthy. It's just not something that a person can continue in. People at this point, there's like a great migration. I believe there's a huge great migration that's happening. People leaving the US in droves. A lot of Black Americans are like, I don't want to do it anymore. I can't. My ancestors fought, and we're still trying to secure the same rights that our ancestors fought for. You know, voting rights have been gutted this year. So many things have happened just in this past year or two. And people are ready to be done with it. And who can blame them? So that was a long answer to the question, to the comment about the 4th of July. But yeah, it's not a holiday that I acknowledge. I do acknowledge Juneteenth, which is the day that the that enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, actually found out that they were free. Um, the Emancipation Proclamation, which ended slavery, was signed in 1863, and a lot of plantations held their slaves for 2 more years after that, until the Union Army came to the plantations and said, no, you are free now, you are no longer a slave. And they had to force that. So I do acknowledge Juneteenth. Yeah, so that's that on that. Let me know if anybody else has any questions. I'm going to look at the chat again. I want to rest my voice. I want to rest my voice a little bit. Droves is a stretch, but yeah, I'm looking forward to leaving, most likely Ghana, but I'm open to opportunity anywhere in Africa. You think droves is a stretch? I don't know. I don't think droves is a stretch. I mean, I guess it depends on what you call droves. What I will say is that there is a great exodus that is happening, that has been happening. I mean, there are social media influencers that I've been following for years who have been out of the US for 10 years or more, who are like, Black people, get out of there, you know? And I think a lot of people are wanting to leave now. I would say, oh, you said most likely Ghana. Have you been to Ghana? Have you been to Ghana? Oh, I said I was going to talk about this. My first time going to Ghana, I was a sophomore at Howard, HU. And I had the opportunity to study abroad. And one of my options, I think there were 5 options to choose from. And I only remember 3 of them. One was Ghana, one was South Africa, one was Namibia. I don't remember the other 2. But Ghana was my first choice. And I got to go to Ghana. So I was in Ghana for 2 years. I was in Ghana for a full semester, summer semester, my sophomore year in college. That was my first time going to Ghana. And I fell in love. I fell in love with Ghana. I fell in love with Ghanaian people. It was my first time realizing that I did not know what it was like to be completely surrounded on all sides by Black people. And I think a lot of Black Americans, I mean, people are like, yeah, go to Atlanta. It's not the same. Not the same. First went to Ghana as an undergrad at UCLA in 1997. Stayed to 9 months, 2 semesters. Word. It was transformative. It's transformative. It really, really is. It's transformative. It transformed me. Because I realized, first of all, I was like, oh, just looking at people, just watching people on a regular daily basis. I was like, oh, yeah, this is where we're from. We're from here. Yep. People with mannerisms, the same as family members, all kinds of mannerisms. I think there's a spike in awareness. Hold on, let me read that. I think there's a spike in awareness and the need to explore what Africa is like. So droves may not be a stretch, but I think it's still in the dipping of toes phase. The dipping of toes phase. Yeah, I think a lot of people are dipping their toes. I think a lot of people are diving in head first. And I just remember, for me, Ghana was so profound because it was the first time that I was like, wow, I'm surrounded by people who look just like me. And how I look is not an issue. It's not a factor. The way my hair isn't a factor in the conversation. My skin isn't a factor in the conversation. I can just be. And I think that a lot of Black Americans don't have that feeling until we come to the continent, where you could be the poorest person in the city, you could be the richest person in the city, everybody's Black. from the president on down. You don't have to celebrate that you got a black president. All the presidents are black because you're in a black country. And so, and I also think, and here's the thing, I thought I was going to go, but I guess I'm going to keep going. Here's the thing. I know that a lot of African Americans get offended when they meet people from the continent or people from the Caribbean who don't identify as black. And I think there's something that we have to understand about that, is that when you grow up in a nation where you don't have to identify by your skin color or your race, because we know that's not a real thing, when you grow up in a place where you don't have to identify that way, you don't identify that way. So you don't need to. So you're not calling yourself black because you're like, I'm Ghanaian, I'm Kenyan, I'm Nigerian, whatever, I'm Igbo, I'm Yoruba, I'm Ashanti, you know, I'm a Khan, whatever it is. Excuse me. It is only when you come to the US where you realize, oh, I see what blackness is, you know? And so I think there's a space for a gap to be bridge the gap in understanding, so that when you meet people who are from the continent or people who are from the Caribbean who are like, I'm not black, I'm where I'm from, I am from where I'm from, or I am what I am, that's not an offensive thing, you know? And I think a lot of African Americans would do well to understand that concept. When everybody's black, you don't have to identify yourself as black, because you just are, because everybody is. You know what I'm saying? Somebody left a comment that I want to read. Somebody said, hi, Tryphena, how's Kenya treating you? Kenya's treating me pretty well. I have a little weird cough happening right now, but other than that, I'm good. The ghetto intellectual. Simultaneously, there is a strong African campaign on social media that is impacting African American thought. I've been arguing with ADOS FBA for listen, ADOS FBA, what are all of these acronyms? I don't want them. Just be black, please. Why do we gotta do FBA Foundation? I don't have to. It's not necessary for me. For me, it's not necessary. But you're right. There is a strong campaign. I think thanks to social media and thanks to people going to these places and showing these places, a lot of us are realizing, and this is something that I knew a long time ago, a lot of us are realizing, oh, what we've been shown is not the full story. What we've been shown is not the full story. I remember when I first came to Ghana, when I was a sophomore in college, and we met some guys on the beach, and they became our friends, you know, and they were like, why don't y'all come here more? Why don't y'all come? And we were like, do you know how expensive it was to get here? And they were like, oh, but you're all rich. All you Americans, you're rich. And we were like, no, we're not. I know that's what TV makes it seem like, but we're not. It's the propaganda. It's the American marketing system propaganda that makes the world think that the U.S. is a certain thing. You know, everybody's not rich. Everybody doesn't have, you know, still on Kenyan coast. Yep, I'm still on the coast. I'm on Diani Beach, fighting a cough. Ah! I'm gonna take some water. Haitian scholar, written a fascinating text challenging the idea that race is not a significant factor in Ghanaian history. The predicament of blackness. Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to look that up. The predicament of blackness. That sounds really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So yeah, I think that there is a huge push on social media for people to come to the continent, to see for yourself, to see the reality. Because in the U.S., I mean, I grew up on the Save the Children commercials where they showed little African children with bloated bellies and flies on their faces, and everybody thought that's what it was. Oh my gosh, they're so poor and hungry, you know. And then I got here and I was like, these people are rich, you know. And obviously everybody's not rich, but I'm like, this idea that Africa is a continent full of poor, hungry people is just false. It's just false. It's a narrative that has been pushed for a very long time. And I think thanks to social media and thanks to so many people who are um, showing their experiences in Africa, people's eyes and minds are now open to come and have an experience for themselves, to come and see for yourself. You know what I mean? And thankfully, also, my experience on the continent has been beautiful. I have never, because there's also this narrative that Black Americans hate Africans, Africans hate Black Americans. And I'm like, come on, guys. You know, I've only been welcomed. I've only been referred to as sister. I've only been welcomed. And I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and I'm like, any Black American woman who has never felt loved, desired, pursued in the US, honey, come to the continent. you you won't have any trouble, okay? It's just beautiful to be in a space where you don't have to explain your skin, you don't have to explain your hair, where you are referred to as sister, where you are referred to as beautiful, where you are received. You know, people want to know where you're from. Oh, you're from the US. Oh, you're a Black American. Oh, welcome, sister. Welcome home. You know, it's a beautiful experience, and I think we all deserve it. I think we all deserve it. You know, Ghetto Intellectual says, I agree. You went to Kibera, the major slum in Kenya. You want to see the hood for yourself. And then I take Black students for Africa every summer. That's amazing. My experiences in Africa has been overwhelmingly positive. Mine have been too. I've been to Ghana, South Africa, Lesotho, Kenya, Tanzania. I've also been to Egypt and Morocco. Thankfully, I haven't had bad experiences in North Africa. I know some people who have, but I haven't. I think wherever I go, I've been received. I've been well received. And I also try to come in humble. Like, don't go into a place thinking you big bad American, whatever, whatever. Like, no, be humble. Be humble. Learn something and be open for exchange. And I think if you do those things, you'll have a grand old time. A grand old time. Diani Beach has been considered the best beach in Africa 6 consecutive times. I love Diani Beach. You are there. What do you think? What's your opinion? I love Diani Beach. So earlier this year, I was in Mombasa. I was on the beach in Mombasa, and I went to Zanzibar as well. Both beautiful places. Zanzibar is gorgeous. The beach for me was a little crowded, you know, which made sense. It's winter in the US and people are escaping the cold. So Zanzibar is one of those places that people go to escape the cold. And so it was amazing. The water was amazing, but it just felt very crowded. And when I was in Mombasa, I wanted to come to Diani, but I just didn't have the time. I was exhausted. I had just finished climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, and I was like, I just want to lay in my room and look out my window and see the water. I want to do nothing. So I didn't make it to Diani. So I'm glad I was able to come back this time. I love it. It's so peaceful. The water is lovely. People are wonderful, very nice, very kind. Not nearly as crowded as Zanzibar. And Mombasa wasn't super crowded either. So I'm thankful for that. So yeah, I'm having a great time in Diani. I think that this is going to be a place that will have to be like a go-to getaway for me. You know, the flight is crazy far, it's long. But, you know, it's worth it to come and just have beauty and peace and all of those things. So I am so happy to have made it to Diani. All right, y'all. I want to rest my voice because if you've been here for any time, you have heard me coughing. If you have not subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe. Thank y'all so much for joining me. If you have any other questions that you want me to answer, please put them in the comment section of this video. I'm going to leave this video up. Put the questions in the comment section. And I may do another live. This is my last day here in Nairobi. I start my journey back to the US tomorrow. The past 3 months have been amazing. And I'll probably do another video just recapping everything because it's been a lot. The past 3 months has been a lot. But for those of you who have found me on this journey between Ghana and Kenya, thank you for joining me on the journey. I hope you'll stick around. There's more to come from me. I'm also a life coach. We didn't even talk about that at all. So I might do another live to talk about being a life coach. But there'll be more content coming from me. And so stick around. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Sat through this whole live. And check out my channel. I have these videos. I have May mental health moment videos. I have videos from performance clips. I also used to have a show called Fearless Fridays, 140 episodes of just empowerment and encouragement and life coach type things. So check out all of those things and stay tuned. Yes. But for now, I'm going to rest this voice and I'm going to get to packing because I'm out of here tomorrow. So thank y'all so much for joining me. And I will talk to you again soon. All right. Peace.